Okay, it's 7 o'clock, and I'll call a regular meeting of the Buckhannon City Council to order. Ask you to join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. We'll respect the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Got Jerry Kimball on the sign-in list, and you circled yes. Your turn.
My turn already? Okay. The reason I'm here tonight is I want to thank the city of Buckhannon and the employees and everybody that helped with the blast from the past. It was a success as far as my part of it's concerned, and I think everybody that was in the car club. And I hope that it turned out great for everybody else. I know even volunteers come forward and helped us. The paid employees of the city, the work that they did, and law enforcement, and even Mitch had a little hand in it too. So anyhow, I want to thank everybody and appreciate it, and that's about all I got to say.
Okay, Jerry, appreciate what y'all did. I think it was a fine event. Everything I heard about it was good. Thank you for your efforts.
How many cars actually showed up there?
We registered 148.
Need a little bit more cooperation with the weather Saturday.
Yeah. That would help us greatly.
I think it was a really great event also. I enjoyed it this year, even though I didn't make it to the cars. I brought my grandson. He really had a good time down at Jawbone. But I did have some comments from people that they would really like to see it another weekend other than Relay for Life, if there could possibility not put those on the same weekend.
I could go along with that, but the only opening we have for other car shows that surround us is that weekend. I don't know what else we could do. We try to wait for good weather, which generally in July you'll have good weather. And only this weekend we picked a bad, not necessarily so bad, but it hindered us. But there's nothing I can do at this time to change the date. I mean, we try to go for the third weekend in July, and or the last weekend, I'll put it that way. If we see that we can change it, we'll sure change it.
Thank you.
Again, thanks.
Thanks, Jerry.
Laura Meadows, CVB annual report.
All right, I've got a few handouts for everybody. I don't have enough for everyone.
I don't either.
Do you have a few extras that anybody else wants one? Okay. All right, so this is our annual report from the Upshur County Convention and Visitors Bureau. So this covers July 1st of 2012 to June 30th of 2013. And it's always fun to look at an annual review because you actually get a look at the numbers and see all the accomplishments. And it's been a good year for us for sure. So I just highlighted some of the main things that we have accomplished. First of all, we were awarded $23,400 in advertising grant funds from the Division of Tourism and the Tourism Commission. And that money went for advertising in the 2013 West Virginia Travel Guide. We created an advertising campaign that's called Stay the Weekend. Stay the Weekend focused on some of our major festivals and events. One of them was the Blast from the Past event. So it invites people to come to our annual festival, stay the weekend, and enjoy the rest of Upshur County. We've designed and implemented advertising campaign is called What Small Town Charm is All About.
This is what small town.
This is it. This is it.
Small gold thing. That's as good as you're gonna get.
Okay, I'm good. All right. So what Small Town Charm is all about, so whenever we do general leisure advertising strategies, that's our tagline, that's what we focus it around. And then, like I said, we started a second advertising campaign that's called Stay the Weekend. So it still ties into the Small Town Charm, but it features all of our local events. So it's been a good strategy so far. We've been seeing a lot of really good results for advertising, so far so good. We do all of our advertising through print medias, online medias, social media through Facebook and Twitter, and then a lot of public relations with just community connections and connections throughout the state. And social media has been just absolutely amazing. It's so much fun. If anybody has a business or organization that isn't doing it, I don't know why, because we communicate and we have conversations with people on a daily basis about what we have to offer, so it's a really good way to advertise us. Another thing we've done in the past year is we created an internal advertising grant program for local businesses and organizations where they can come to the CVB and apply for advertising dollars. So in the past year, we distributed $4,600 for local events and businesses to advertise what they have to offer, and you can see a list. Blast from the past, a local 5K, our Arts Festival, Festival Fridays, the Buckhannon Community Theater for Into the Woods. The Market Bistro had a nice video produced, and we're running that through some different medias, and then also the Strawberry Festival. And this is going to be an annual program. We put a little bit more money into it for this coming year, so we encourage local businesses and organizations to take advantage of advertising. Again, social media sites, our Facebook and Twitter accounts. In the past year, we've more than doubled our likes on Facebook, which shows us that people are getting to know us and they want to know what's happening in Buckhannon. We've distributed over 16,000 Upshur County travel guides. Those are distributed to welcome centers, to all of our rest stops. They've gone to some travel shows, and then also whenever we advertise in magazines or online and people see that advertisement and they want more information about Upshur County, we mail out our travel guide. So 16,000 is a direct result of people wanting to get more information about Upshur County. Like I said, we were represented at 6 different travel shows that span throughout Florida, Ohio, Maryland, and Pennsylvania.
How many represented?
There were probably about 10 different tourism organizations throughout the state, and what we do is one organization says, okay, I'm going to go to this Ohio travel show. If you want to participate, you pay a fee and you give us your travel guide. So we just send our travel guides to that show, but there were probably about 10 different CVBs across the state or attractions across the state that participated. Our website, it's just wonderful. I absolutely love our website. I'm on that absolutely every single day, changing something, adding updates, swapping out photos, doing something to keep it up to date. But in the past year, we've had 17,942 visits to our website. And the other cool thing about it is whenever people are on our site, they're spending on average about 2 minutes and 20 seconds on our website. So that tells you that they're spending 2 minutes and 20 seconds researching where to stay, where to shop, where to dine, what's there to do in Upshur County. So it's a really good indicator that they're interested whenever they get to our website.
I was on the website the other day and ran into the calendar of events. Extremely well done.
Thanks.
And that's something that this community's needed for a long, long time, and I'm finally glad to see it operational.
The month of July looked almost too busy because there were tons of black marks, but whenever you look at it and you open it up, you're like, wow, there are a lot of things to do, so thank you. We've redesigned our website. Every single year we're putting money into the website to do something different. That way we're keeping it fresh and we're keeping it active. Right now if you go to it, you'll see photos that rotate continually on the home screen, and we have the ability to change that out depending on what's happening. But that gives it a little bit more interaction to somebody whenever they're visiting. The other big thing that everybody I'm sure is well aware of is our new office move. We're on Main Street and it's been phenomenal. just to go from a place where we didn't have anybody stop in, we didn't really get that many visitors, and now we're getting just people constantly throughout the day coming in, asking questions. We get to ask, where are you from, why are you here? It's the purpose of why we exist, so it's really fun to be on Main Street and interacting with the visitors.
Do you have a guest book?
We're working on that. Yeah, we are going to have a guest book. We're going to have a guest book where we can log people, where they're from and when they came, but we also have a map where people are going to be able to put push pins in of where they're from. We've been cooperating with the Chamber of Commerce and Create Buckhannon and our local businesses to start Cash Mob Buckhannon, and we're trying to do it on a monthly basis. All these organizations are coming together and selecting a business, trying to cash mob them, so that way our locals know that they're there, spend a little bit of money in that business. It's a really fun event, and the next one's going to be at Diane's Hallmark in August. So.
What's that called?
It's called Cash Mob.
And what does that mean?
It's basically, have you heard of a flash mob?
No.
Okay.
No, I gotta remember, I'm an old dude.
Well, cash mob is basically you pick one place and you mob them with your cash. So everybody kind of agrees on a certain place, a certain time, a certain destination, and you go in and you have the goal of spending maybe $20, so something fairly minimal. But if you get 50 people in one business spending $20, that can be a huge impact to a local business. And sometimes local people aren't familiar with a local business, so it gets them connected with another resource.
Do you have any incentives, like you can win a prize if you're one of the customers or anything like that? Or?
I don't think anybody's done that, but that's not a bad idea.
I think we ought to have it at my house tomorrow for the
Oh, yeah, for the yard sale. We've also worked a lot with Wesleyan, and they're just an amazing partner. And, you know, I don't have a good figure, but I would say at least 50% of our visitors have some form of connection to Wesleyan. Whenever it's students moving in, it's parents' weekend, alumni events. Whenever we're throughout the state and we ask people, have you been to Buckhannon? And they said, isn't that Wesleyan? And they connect Buckhannon with Wesleyan. So we have a lot of connections with Wesleyan. We work with their marketing classes. The CVB has a service scholar through Wesleyan, and she's just wonderful. So we get to have her in our office, and she's a marketing major, so she's learning as she's going through, and it's a lot of fun. In the past year also, we have become an accredited CVB. So that accreditation will stand for 3 years, and then we'll reapply and give all of our statistics again for what we're doing and how we're managing our organization. But we are accredited, so that's
What is the accrediting body?
It's the West Virginia Association of CVBs. It's just a nonprofit. And the state, whenever we go to the state and request our advertising grants, a lot of times whenever we're presenting our grant, they ask, are you accredited CVB? So it has good standing.
And I'd like to point out, and I don't want to cut you off if you're going to mention this, but the presentation that you were part of down at the Capitol during the legislative session for Quarter H was really outstanding, and it drew a lot of attention. It was the talk of the Capitol that day and for a couple of days after, and it was an outstanding spotlight on Buckhannon to be part of that.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thanks. And we've also completed an annual financial review. We do that on an annual basis, and we use a local accounting firm, and they just watch our books and make sure that everything's being managed appropriately. And we continue to do that annually, so we just wrapped that up for our previous fiscal year. So that's what we've accomplished in the past year, and we've got plans moving forward, which you can see again. In addition to our What Small Town Charm is all about and State of the Weekend advertising campaigns, we're partnering with the Lewis County CVB and the Randolph County CVB to create an advertising campaign that's titled 33 Things to Do Along Route 33. We're going to be creating 3-day trip packages that are about $333, and we're going to be targeting people who are within a 3-hour driving distance. So we're really playing up the 3. And we just were awarded a grant about a month ago to fund this project, so we're all pulling our money together, and hopefully this will be a huge success. A lot of the advertising should kick off in the spring of 2014, so that gives us the fall and the winter to really plan and get things together. But it'll be a fun one for sure.
On the not to interrupt, but on the financial review, do you provide the city with any financial statements or?
I do, and we've had a transition in how our accounting is managed, and whenever it was switched over to my office, I wasn't granted permission to do reports yet, and it was just a by chance thing. So we're getting it worked out, and as soon as I get financials, I'll get it to the
I
city.
think it's due to us by October 15th, if I remember right. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just put that in my nose. We'll get it.
We'll get that, yeah.
Thanks.
We're getting ready, we're in the middle of preparing for our conference center, which is going to be an amazing impact for Buckhannon, Upshur County, and just the region as a whole. I was looking over my notes today, and so far we have 8 preliminary conferences booked for the conference center, and I continue to get more people kind of asking questions, and we're getting things out there. So it's coming, and I mean, within a year and a few months, we should be actively utilizing that facility. So it's a lot of fun. A little overwhelming, but a lot of fun. Another thing on your agenda, which later in the meeting we'll cover, we are going to implement a visitor parking pass, where for one day, visitors who come into our office can receive free parking for one day, and then we're going to direct them to where available parking is beyond that one day. But it's just a nice welcoming sign. Whenever people are coming into Buckhannon, here's free parking, we want you here, we welcome you here, and I'm excited about that. And the other thing, we are starting an email marketing campaign this year too, where I've been uploading all of the email addresses we've collected, and we have probably close to 7,000 email addresses that we've collected. So all of a sudden, 7,000 people are going to start getting emails from us, but it'll be another strategy to hit them. Are there any questions?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
How much collaboration do you do with the Wildlife Center? Do you work with them?
We do. Since they're a state agency, they have a very specific way of how they handle things, and we stay in touch with them as much as we can. And they're always a part of our general advertising campaigns too, because they're one of the best attractions we have. But I mean, sometimes being a state organization can be interesting.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Also, do you get many comments about the flowers in town?
We do. People always say our main street's beautiful, the flowers, they're wonderful. Yeah, people really notice our flowers.
I had 3 comments this morning
Yeah.
about the flowers in town.
They look wonderful.
Yeah, and one comment about the new library on Main Street.
Yeah. That's really fun. We get to watch people kind of walk past it and stop, and they don't quite know what's happening, and they look at it, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, that's awesome, it's great.
That's why I wanted to mention to you, to let the people know what that's about.
Yeah, Create Buckhannon, somebody brought an idea to Create Buckhannon, and it's called Little Free Library, which it's exactly the way it sounds. It's a little house, and it has a little door, and you can leave a book or take a book, and it's completely free. You don't have to worry about late fees or anything like that. But Create Buckhannon installed one. It's in between CJ Maggie's and the Chamber Visitor Center office, and it's on a little pedestal, and it's just adorable, and it's got nice little features. I think it's the 3rd one in West Virginia, and I know a lot of people really like the idea, and I think we'll see a lot more pop up in Buckhannon.
I had seen somebody already post, I'm aware that they're going to put one out at the light, or the Randy, the chapel down there at Sago Road. And Route
Oh, okay.
20.
Well, that's good. We're going to put one in Rock Cave too.
That's great.
And there's also, just on the news tonight, they had one in Huntington that was
Okay.
featured. I understand there's several thousands of them across the country.
Yeah, they have a Facebook page and a website, but if you look at a map, I mean, they're all over the world, but whenever you start looking at a map, it's amazing to see how many are out there.
Do you find there's any obstacles that you encounter on a regular basis, or is everybody pretty open to it?
Really, I've had nothing but good remarks. I haven't had any problems. It's been a really positive experience. Yeah. Anything else?
Anything else for Laura?
Thank you.
I would like to thank Laura for all the help that she gave us during getting us permits for the banner and for closing the streets and so forth. But she's been great with us for 2 years on all of that.
Great.
Thank you.
I think you're all doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Department board reports, Michael.
Yes, if you all recall, at the last council meeting, there was some proposed policies to add in addition to our handbook. These policies relate to return to work policy and workers' compensation, and also a motor vehicle policy. Again, just as a refresher, I gave all of you copies of that. I gave our department heads copies of that and did get some feedback by several of our department heads, and also presented some to Mr. McCauley for legal review. Since then, we've taken all of that into consideration, and Mr. McCauley has reviewed and made some changes to our policy, none of them terribly significant. Again, the reason that we're putting these two policies in place is, one, to deal with the workers' compensation for our employees that are injured on the job, specifically employees injured on the job, not injured at home. This would not apply to them, of course. Having the availability, it's in our interest, it's in workers' comp's interest, and to a certain degree, it's the employee's interest to get back to work as soon as possible, as long as they're fit and able to do that. And this policy will actually address that. It also has included in it a copy of a form that would be sent with our employees to their physicians to be filled out, and that is also, I believe, in your packet, a copy of that form. The physician would be able to indicate the abilities of that employee, what they can and cannot do when we take into consideration bringing them back on under the auspices of light duty. So that, in a nutshell, is the return to work policy. The second policy to direct your attention to, again, is the motor vehicle policy. This is spurred out of a little bit of discussion when we were looking at our renewal for our liability property insurance. As we know, and we stated in the past in discussions with council, we've had some issues in the past with employees in operating city vehicles, and this policy goes several steps forward to address those issues. It takes everything from convictions for drug and alcohol offenses to driving with suspended license, to at-fault accidents, to actually even down to 2 or more company vehicles committed within a 12-month period, and also some notifications for those employees. It also mentions, and Mr. McCauley added this, I think it's a great idea, that all new employees would be subject to a DMV screening, and even active employees would be subject on a random DMV screening to make sure that we take for account and consideration anything that may be happening that's not on the work. Obviously, if they're arrested for a DUI or something like that, it's in the city's interest and the public's interest to have that addressed with our employees, so there's not a problem there with them operating city vehicles. We also did make a change, even though it's not in your packet. It's just really an addition to our equal employment section of our handbook, which includes sexual orientation, which is something that this council addressed several months ago. We just include that as far as race, gender, sex, ethnicity now has sexual orientation involved. So with all of that said, didn't really get much feedback from council, but I guess as Mr. McCauley would say, this is fresh for your consideration. My recommendation would be to approve the return to work policy, the motor vehicle policy, and then the addition of sexual orientation within the employee handbook, that to be revised and disseminated amongst our active employees and any future employees we have.
Need a motion for that? I'll also move.
Move to approve amending the employee handbook.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there further discussion? Not all in favor, signify so in a second.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Only to say thank you for your efforts and
I'd also want to mention a couple of housekeeping items. First, we'll talk about our non-facility debt, and I think I explained that to you all a few council meetings ago. Non-facility meaning anything besides our conference center that we're building and also our public safety. I do want to note that we recently paid off the debt on our fire truck and our street department backup, so we're chipping away at some of that non-facility debt. Playground equipment update, that's been somewhat of an issue. If you all recall in the record, Delta and what was it, Dwayne Monday's article? Monday's article. The mayor, Jerry, myself, and some representatives from a firm that specializes in recreational playground equipment met at City Park and also at North Buckhannon Park and talked about some designs and some concepts for actually replacing specifically the playground equipment that was removed in in City Park. We had a lot of good ideas. We took those back to the firm that's actually in the process of creating some conceptual designs based off of those discussions that we had in the meetings. We're targeting right now the spring of 2014 to have that up. I'm actually in the process of looking at some financing options, which I think will be very palatable, which I'll present at a later date. We're just waiting to get this conceptual designs and a final cost estimate. There will be a few things to consider, actually contracting that out for construction versus having our departments do that, and there will be, of course, a financial cost with contracting that out. So those are some options that I'll certainly be working with Jerry to see if those are viable for us and how it can fit into our finances. So that's something exciting, and making that commitment to get that playground back up and running for the kids in our community. Other few interesting meetings that we've had. You'll note, I believe Mary Arbol from the American Legion had something in your packet the last council meeting in regards to some patriotic flag displays. We did have a chance to meet with a representative from the American Legion on Friday. Jerry Arnold was there as well, and we discussed several options and working with the American Legion to help honor our veterans. And what the town could do as far as a commitment to that. So we're working out having some things on display. We learned some lessons from the 4th of July. And we're looking at putting up some flags and doing some things again to honor our veterans on Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and on the 4th of July. And actually something that spurred out of that conversation, which has taken some flight, is even discussion on advancing a concept of what would be called a walk of valor or a walk of honor that we would utilize down at Jawbone Park in kind of the farmers market stalls, if you will, with the possibility of putting up some banners honoring all of the members of the armed forces branches as well as the armed forces themselves. Something that people can kind of walk down the stalls and see that. So a walk of honor or valor is something we're also doing in the works. We've set a target goal. The next patriotic, if you will, holiday coming up is Veterans Day. Our goal is to work with the folks in the American Legion and anyone else out there that's interested in having some proper displays put up in town, again, to honor those individuals that have served and are serving. Another item, and Laura is involved in this, is we're starting the groundwork for creating what would be called a joint use agreement. This joint use agreement would really specifically be between the Upshur County CVB and the West Virginia Army National Guard. Of course, the city of Buckhannon would be a player in this as well. Working on a joint use agreement and guidelines for the new conference center at Brushy Fork, outlining the responsibilities of the CVB, costs, rents, and how the city plays into that. So I think that's something that, Laura, I believe you're working on scheduling, and certainly the city will be a part of that. I do want to mention the July financial report. I do not have that. It's August 1st. We're still reconciling, but I will have the July 2013 report for you at the next council meeting. And finally, I know Rich has this on his calendar on the second part of the orange page, a joint city council meeting, TBA to be announced. I was approached by the Upshur County Administrator, Megan Pomeroy, to see if there's an interest in us having that. This will be the 5th Thursday of the month on August 29th, and just something for council to consider if we're going to have that meeting. If so, what time? And also, if there's be thinking about if we're having that meeting, anything you may want to put on the agenda that we have some commonality with the Upshur County Commission, or things that we can talk about. So, I'll let Rich and his scheduling work with that maybe later on, but just keep that in mind. We have several weeks, but if you have anything to talk about, let me know. I can get with Megan and we can come up with an agenda along with Rich.
We hosted the last one.
Yeah, it's their turn.
Yeah, so it's their turn to host this one.
Actually, they want to come here.
Do they want to
Yes.
come here?
Mhm.
They're ashamed of their place up there.
Probably.
Well,
They'll
one,
have a table big enough for us to sit around.
More comfortable chairs.
one thing you may want to put on the agenda is that the Consolidated Board had an excellent presentation by Robbie Barber on the, what he was doing with the gardens and the flowers, and some of his long-range plans. I thought it was an excellent presentation.
Very excellent presentation. Of course, that'll have the sound, but the actual slides he presented are on the website now,
But
on the announcement page.
I think it would be good to have him at that meeting, and
That would be a good thing.
So if you have anything else, let me know, and I'll coordinate with Megan and with Rich in getting an agenda together so we can have a productive meeting.
So we're going to host it.
Apparently so.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
based on what's happened out of San Diego, do we need to have a line item for making sure we have workshop and seminars for all the elected officials for sexual harassment and so forth? That's a joke, but,
I honestly don't see that as too much of a joke. I think we really should have the workshops just to protect ourselves.
so he wanted the city council to pay for all his litigation costs.
Well, you know,
Okay, let's,
This has nothing to do with the joint meeting.
Well, maybe they need to do it too. You never
go ahead, Michael.
That's all I have, unless there are any questions.
okay.
Michael, I want to ask you, how did you find out about the playground company, or did they get a hold of you, or is it one
You know,
that you heard
Pam,
about?
actually, every so often, we'll get solicitations in the mail on a variety of different subjects. And we actually got a solicitation from this company. They're actually out of Parkersburg.
Okay.
And they've actually done some stuff. They're doing some things up now at Alderson Broaddus University now, I think is what they're calling themselves. Alderson Broaddus University, and they were in the area. So we coordinated and scheduled a meeting with them to come down here and talk to them about some designs. And I really think, you know, the design that we have, and again, I'm waiting for the conceptual design from them. I think it's something really that will, everyone in the community, all the children will be able to enjoy. I mean, from 3 years old to 12 years old. I mean, there's something there for all of them to do. And again, we're already looking at ways that we can finance it. And by financing, I use that loosely, we're not going into debt over it. It's ways that we can use our existing funds and any additional appropriations that we have to pay for it. So.
Well, I was just wondering, because I know there is other companies that do
Well,
that type of
we
thing.
will have to go to bid.
Sure.
You know, it's going to be at a
We're
price
interested in their
range.
design
We'll
right
have to
now.
go to bid.
You'll find with a lot of playground equipment, they all kind of use somewhat of the same catalogs, or they have kind of the same stuff. So, you know, that stuff, however, as long as we get our playground equipment, you know, we'll go through the right channels to get that. But having a good design in place that we can then take out to the public and take to our kind of park committee that we have and sell that to the public, which I think will be a really good sell from what the concept that we have right now.
I got a really nice letter from them and a packet of information with catalogs and about their company. And when we met with my asking, you know, how'd you know about us? They read it in the paper. So,
Well, I'm
Thank you,
excited
paper.
that hopefully we have some new stuff next summer for everybody.
We're pushing ourselves for the spring.
That's good.
Well, one of the issues you need to be, I think we need to remember is the risk liability issue. And we ought to coordinate that with our insurance carrier also. 'Cause
these things that we're looking at, what's the accrediting agency?
I cannot remember the acronym. It's National Playground.
But there is a national
Something.
association that certifies, and there are people who are certified installers, certified inspectors, and when they will put their stamp of approval on it. And any insurance company will be.
Some insurance companies will require that the firm or the employees, the people putting that in, get a clearance or a letter of approval from the said insurance company prior to doing that, so that they can work on that, in addition to having a supervisor or a crew on board.
But we've talked about that, and we plan to cross those Ts and dot those Is. We will have a certified safe playground.
I will say, yeah, every piece of playground equipment that we're looking at and that we will look at will meet those certification standards.
Yes.
And there may be a difference between whether they construct it versus our employees too. That makes a difference.
Well, we also learned that we could install it under, if one of their inspectors was here to watch the process, and it could be certified.
But let me relay this, and they use this as an example. If we had a $100,000 piece of equipment, they said roughly 30% of the cost of that equipment you would have to pay prevailing wage and labor to have that constructed. 33,000, whatever. So that's a cost, pretty significant cost. The folks that we talk to are certified inspectors, can actually come down and inspect it for $3,000 if our folks put it together. Obviously, that's something to consider. We also want to consider and be sensitive to the street department and all the work that we're burdening them with over the next several months. Again, all this stuff is being taken into consideration, and once we get the design back, you know, we're already thinking about this, and we'll have a good package for you all.
National Playground Contractors Association International. There's 3 or 4 versions listed here.
You got too many toys.
Yeah.
Okay, any more questions for Michael? Thank you, Michael. Mitch?
Good evening. Have a few things this evening quickly. Number one, the fire alarm system at the fire station had its annual inspection. Everything was fine with it. It passed. All of our air packs, we finished those up today. We started yesterday. They tested air packs till about 2 o'clock this morning and finished up today. So all of our air packs have been tested. They're required to be flow tested annually. And once we get started on them, we'd like to finish them. We have a few issues with some. I have to buy some parts for them tweaking. One interesting thing, when I first came in the fire service, we had a 401, it was called a 401 air pack, and the Kenlock's mask had 2 moving parts in it, and that was it. You took it apart, you could fix it on the scene, it had 2 moving parts in it. I spent $320-some just in batteries alone to service our air packs, replace a battery. We do this every 6 months because now these, with all the electronic gizmos on them, so it's been quite a chore, and they're getting very hard to test and inspect. But anyway, we finished that. Our vehicles, all of our vehicles have completed their annual inspection. We're about 95% done with our hose testing. The guys are testing hose this evening, so we'll have about 2,000 feet left after this evening. The texting at the county, at the 911 center is now in operation. Not only do we get alert of our pages, we're receiving text messages as well. It's not as quick as a pager. There's a time delay depending on what letter the alphabet chart goes down in order. If you're A or B, you get it pretty quick. But other than that, there's maybe a minute or 2 delay. And we didn't use this for, it's not a primary means of notification anyway, but it works well for guys who, say for instance, are at Walmart. Pagers don't work in Walmart and Lowe's. And there's a lot of buildings that are, pagers don't work. We have cell phone coverage. So that's helping the guys some with that. The fire department on August the 24th is having a 5K mud run. If you've ever watched on ESPN or seen on TV, they have these, they're called Tough Mudders. We're not using that term because that's a registered trademark, but we're having a close facsimile thereof. We secured a piece of property from a gentleman in the community who's letting us use his property. And there are obstacles, and you run up hills, down hills, through mud holes. We have a ramp that we have made, looks kind of similar to a 2-sided ramp that you saw at the skate park. It's an obstacle. We have pipes to go over, pipes to go through. There's an entrance fee for this. We have people registered, I've already called and registered from Virginia, Maryland. We have it on our website, so I just want to get it out to the local people that we think it's going to be quite an event. They're very, very well received. Some of our guys go other places and participate and run in them. So
When's it going to be?
August the 24th.
August 24th.
Where's the property? Where's it going to be held?
I'd rather not say this time, David, because we're in the process of putting the course together. We're going to reveal, I hate to do that right now because we don't want people going out.
Don't want sneak peeks.
We don't want sneak peeks. We really don't want people. We're going to get that. We're going to reveal that in a couple of weeks. But right now, we don't want to say we don't want people going out. We have some stuff there that we don't want tampered with. So.
You going to charge admission for
Yes.
spectators?
No.
Okay.
No, it's.
I don't want to go through that mud hole, but I would like to watch it.
Yeah, there'll be places for spectators, you know.
So you'll make the mud and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah, we're going to dig holes, and we've got a container, we're going to put some ice water in it, people have to run through water. It's pretty demanding.
What time of day is it?
I think starts at 10 o'clock. We run heats there. We have, normally Pam, you end up with so many people registered, it's just like a marathon. You have to run heats, and we'll start a group of people, and we have a company that's coming in doing some electronic timing for us. So we're thinking it's going to be a pretty big to do. We hope so.
And this is a foot trail, not a motor trail.
Yes, I want to be clear. This is running. This is a foot race. This is not dirt bikes or jeeps or anything else. This is foot traffic only. So
Are you hoping to have this an annual event?
that's our plans. Yes.
Okay.
Some of our fundraisers that we've been doing, Pam, have been in existence for 20-some years, you know, and our demographics have changed. The people that we need to support us have changed, society's changed, and we're just trying to take a different twist and do something a little different for our fundraisers. So we think it's going to be a big.
You going to have age groups?
Pardon?
Going to have age groups?
Yes, I think, it's just it'll be divided into age groups. Your time's based on your age group, yes.
Get vendors out there, you can sell them hot dogs.
Dave, you want to run?
Well, you want to run with me?
Yeah, maybe.
If you want to go with me, I'll try it.
You guys team up and go, yeah.
Save me a spot beside you, Ron.
I need a short rope, I'll tell you that.
And also in October the 7th, we're having our annual fall bash that we have at the fire station where we give away our tickets. We're still selling tickets on those. In working with the comm center, our officers sat down, we changed our dispatch procedures here a little bit in the city. We went to a box alarm assignment. We're now getting automatic aid. That's something that's kind of new to ISO, or well, new to us for ISO, and kind of changing the way we do things. This is, our old method of being dispatched was okay, but what we're doing now is probably more preferred method by ISO, and it's actually more cost, or more, not cost effective, more efficient for us. We're automatically on a first alarm assignment on initial structure fire, or having other departments dispatch with specific equipment. Second alarm, we have other communities coming to help us. Makes it a lot quicker for our officers. We don't have to think what type of equipment we have. We know what we're getting when we request it. Before we would call, they would dispatch a fire department to come and help us. Well, once they got on, you had to be very specific with them what they would bring. We may need a pumper, and they may bring a rescue truck or something. So that's part of what we're doing with that, and it's made it a lot more efficient. So that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
I have one more. Do you ever do anything to actually recognize your volunteer people?
We do not have an awards dinner. We have talked time and time again about that. We have kicked that idea around.
I think that'd be nice to do that. Because I know volunteerism is getting less and less and less. And,
We have kicked that idea around. But then, when you have awards and you have a dinner, and then somebody in the community says, well, they are my taxpayers' dollars having a dinner and giving out awards, giving out trophies. So sometimes it's a...
Yeah, it's pro and con, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you, Mitch.
Well, something that might be considered is having it's really critical for volunteers on the fire department, but maybe have a volunteer day for all different people that volunteer with, the literacy programs and all the different other kind of things, first responders, there are people that volunteer in that area too. So, but volunteerism is going down. It's really hard to find people to do it.
Jay Hall.
Again, I'll try to be quick. Not a lot to talk about, just 4 or 5 projects tonight. The Army Reserve, National Guard Armed Forces Reserve Center, this is through yesterday. Just to show you how far a little bit of sun can go, we were able to work only 10 days in July, but we completed over half the project. We're now 71% complete. And I truly believe that if we can just have 3 or 4 more weeks of dry weather, we will have that knocked out. But the guys in the water department have really stepped it up, knowing the time crunch and the opportunities to work when they can, and they're about 71% complete with the project. Gateway East, some very good news. As I mentioned the last time, we entered the Memorandum of Understanding with SHPO, the Federal Department of Highways, Federal Highways Administration, and the DOH. SHPO's finally approved the project, and we received notice to proceed on July 5th. We anticipate starting that project sometime within the next 3 to 4 weeks, but I'm going to let Jerry speak a little bit more on that. But looking forward to getting that started. We do have a invitation to bid. We sent some letters out to 6 or 7 electrical suppliers for the remaining electrical items that we need: conduit, wiring, connectors, elbows, light timers, clocks for turn the lights on and off. Those bids, we will be accepting them until August 15th, and we're going to open up and award those so we can get those supplies ordered and delivered so that it won't hold Jerry's department up. McDonald's Route 20 lane widening. There is a scheduled on-site meeting with the DOH either in late August or early September with members of the engineering design group from the DOH, Sam, myself, and anybody that wants to attend and address some comments. The project is moving forward.
Sorry, Jake, what's the date of that again? I'm sorry.
It hasn't been determined yet, but late August, early September. You know, they're trying to coordinate down there. The last of the vacations are wrapping up. People are going back to work, so we're waiting on them. I've had some preliminary conversations with the property owners at 108 South Canal Street regarding the hedges, and talked to them a couple times last week and left a message yesterday, but have not heard back from them regarding how they want to proceed or what their thoughts are on the shrubs that, border South Canal at East Victoria. And if I had some information, I'd report on it, but I do not at this time. Nothing has changed as far as the scheduling. I talked to the project manager earlier this week. He said, Jay, just report what you reported last time. So, I have those dates if you want them, but we have those in the minutes from the last meeting. North Ridge Development, out behind the Microtel, between the Microtel and the Pizza Hut. The water department, pulled off the guard site for a day and made 2 hot taps. And the reason we went with the hot taps were because we needed to get back on the guard project with sunny weather. This was the quickest. We were able to make those successfully, and it's not going to hold them up because the contractor is wanting to continue with their fill operations and start pouring foundations. But in order to allow us to come back, or the contractor to come back later on, we made those taps, came out a certain distance from the main water line so as not to, mess with it. And, whenever the time is right, we'll go back there and finish the loop around the development. But this is just not to hold up the developer. The review of the sanitary sewer is still going on, and they're preparing a cost estimate to do the sanitary sewer and the storm portion of the project, and I'm sure Sam will report on that at the next council meeting. And that's all I have. Jerry's going to touch on a couple things regarding Gateway East and the public safety complex, so I'll let him talk about those.
Questions for Jay? Thank you, Jay. Thank you. Jerry?
Evening. Board reports, consolidated board met last Thursday at 4, and since the mayor and I wasn't there, they didn't get anything accomplished. Michael gave the financial report. Money marketing checking was $82,959.98. Cemetery CD was $225,803.34. Jay reported on the purchase of the compactor plate, which we have received and used, and might add a very nice piece of equipment, coming very handy on Street with that compaction effort. The board discussed concerns with Mountain Vista Drive, and there was no action taken on that. Also discussed use of the FEMA lots and needed to meet FEMA requirements on those lots. And the board reviewed a request from Jen Hinkle in regards to policing parking spaces. And again, there was no formal action taken on that letter. Waste Board met this evening, and Michael presented the financial report. Money market and checking, $682,536.03. CD of $56,229.32. Approved the waiving of the dumpster rental for the parish house after the world's largest yard sale. Everyone's done trying to sell. They've become inundated with all the items that they don't sell, and a lot of those things they have to discard. So, Waste Board has always assumed that fee for the rental and the actual truck fee. We still have to charge the tipping fee, but because of that, we do take that off. So they approved that. Opened the bids on the air curtain incinerator. We only had one bid come in on that piece of equipment, and it was approved. The purchase of it was approved from a company called Air Burners Inc., Palm City, Florida, for a price of $86,660, and that's pending review of the specifications. Also approved a $75 credit to race signs at 9 Academy Street due to damage done by one of our trucks and moving it in. And reported on the continuation of the fuel surcharge by the Public Service Commission, volume charge. And again, we are not charging the maximum percentage rate for that, kept the rate that we've been going with. Also, recycling center, the total for recycling in June, and again, this is a 2-month report, we didn't have a meeting last month, 46.31 tons. In July, we had 74.87 tons. And the second quarter report, we had 145.89 tons recycled. Transfer station in June, we had 1,649 total transactions with a total weight of 1,217 tons. In July, we had 1,925 transactions and 1,402 for the weight. We continue to work on Pocahontas and Fayette Streets. We have about 95% after the guys' efforts today, and again, it was quite trying because of the rain. We had blacktop ordered, had to take the blacktop. Looked at the weather this morning, we had a 30% chance of scattered showers, and pretty good chance. But done a phenomenal job, the guys did, as always, and they've got about 95% of Fayette Street completed with the resurfacing. Got the intersection at Ritchie to Pole, and probably about 20 tons at the end of Fayette till we're at Marion Street. On the Pocahontas Street side, we're at Ritchie Street. We've taken the concrete out of the intersection there, and we are very close to grade. The compaction is completed on the street, and we are very close to grade. I hope to finalize that grade on that street first of next week, and hope, weather permitting, to complete paving on both streets by the end of next week. Again, just can't give the guys enough credit for what they're doing and pushing forward.
Well, I second that. I live on Fayette Street. I think the guys have been doing a fantastic job, and the longer you can keep Fayette Street closed, the happier I am. The Fayette Street Speedway.
Yeah.
We'll do, after we complete that project on Fayette and Pocahontas Street, we have to do some maintenance work that we've let go in this project, and some hole patching and that kind of thing. So we'll have a couple weeks to work on that, and then we'll be, as Jay had mentioned, then we'll be headed to the Gateway East project and start demo on the south side. And an anticipated goal of completing the south side of Gateway East sometime around November, and then going directly into the public safety complex, and with a completion date sometime in April of next year on that. And again, we've got pretty aggressive goals set for these guys, and so far they've held up there. That's all I have, Mayor, unless there are questions. I would like to just add one thing to Michael. We, of course, met with the American Legion last week, and I'll say that, it's not only the city of Buckhannon and placing flags out for everyone. It can be a community effort.
Yeah.
And I think everyone has an obligation.
Yeah. Anybody wants to chip in as well, right?
And your own house.
Your own house.
Put the flags out there. We decorate for Christmas, we can't decorate for July.
Yeah.
Memorial Day. That's all.
One thing I'd like to pick up on, Jerry, just to remind folks that the items they have left over from the yard sale, if you haven't been able to sell them and they're usable clothing or usable household items, I'm sure Parish House or Goodwill or any other Salvation Army or any other organization would be happy to have them. But if it's truly trash, put it out in your trash. Don't give it to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Jerry,
We'll pick it up.
comment on the paving jobs being done on Pocahontas Street. I had a lady call me, and I don't know whether the mayor or anybody contacted you or not, but about the height of the drop-off between her driveway and the street.
114?
Yeah, 113,
Yeah,
yeah.
taken care of.
Okay, but I did notice that it's not particularly even the way they were done. And
They were-
some were 2 inches, some were 4 inches, some were...
What happened is when we shot grade on that and set our stakes, after that machine came through, they adjusted their string, and that's what the machine ran on. So pretty much our grade shots were for naught in some areas. So it did get a little high, a little low. But yeah, as far as the driveway, that one in particular is about 3 inches. And, you know, we try to get it within 2 inches for that way we have a gutter for the water, and hers was a little bit low.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we'll address that whenever we do our finish on Fayette Street.
I appreciate that, and I'm sure she does too.
Thank you.
David Colley.
Thanks, Mayor. Several updates, and then I have a new ordinance for us to look at. Mr. Pugh remarked that it had been a whole meeting since we had had a new ordinance, so we'll take one up here shortly. A couple of things. I've been in contact during the past, 5 or 6 weeks with an attorney from the Chicago area who represents IAA, which used to be ADS, Auto Disposal Services. Now I think it's International Auto Auctions. They bought the ADS facilities, the 5 or 6 locations they had 2 or 3 years ago, and they are in the process of closing on an additional approximately 6-acre piece of property right beside the 10 or 12 acres that they already have, and consistent with the agreement that we reached with them years ago when they established roots here in Buckhannon, that if they acquired additional property, they would agree to have that property annexed. So we'll be working on an annexation petition to bring that in soon. A couple of other updates. TV cable, our franchise with Suddenlink. You might have noticed my messages to the Suddenlink reps have gone unreturned, but in the last month there have been 3 different outages for a few hours at a time. Typically when that happens, I get calls because some out there think I'm the grand poobah of television cable, and I'm not.
I told you.
So, and I'm mainly talking about Albert Oval, our TV cable board member. The point is that we haven't had a meeting in probably 2 years with those guys. The franchise is due to expire in just a year and change. It might be a good opportunity for us to have a meeting with them and set the table for some of those new and improved things that we tend to get when it comes to franchise renewal time.
Mr. David, sir, can I ask a question about TV cable?
Sure.
Do we give them an exclusive right?
No, it's a non-exclusive right. However, as a practical matter, in rural areas, competition really does not exist, except as between the TV cable company and entities that are satellite driven, like the Dish Network, those kinds of services. But you cannot give an exclusive license anymore, haven't been able to since 1984.
Okay, now I understand that Suddenlink was bought out by one of its major stockholders, is that right?
About a year ago, a new partnership of some insiders with Suddenlink and some new people basically reformed the company. And it was probably about this time last year, August or September, I think, that the council approved a resolution specifically permitting that transfer of assets to the newly formed Suddenlink entity. But yes, you're mostly correct in what you say.
Now, the company that's currently in Weston had a desire a year ago to come to Upshur County and to Randolph County, Buckhannon and Elkin. But I guess they were cut out because of the continuation of Suddenlink. I understand that Suddenlink right now, Upshur County and Randolph County, are the 2 areas that are not particularly protected against these sudden outages that we've been having, whereas most of their other cities are. Any particular reason why we can't get protected in these 2 cities also?
I think that is precisely the type of topic that should be addressed in this meeting with the Suddenlink officials.
David, and it's just not the TV, it is also, people have their phone service.
Yes.
Phone, internet.
Internet service, and, you know, for especially somebody that has a disability and needs their phone, that can be very onerous to them. And it's happened a lot in the last month or two. But another related question, we get a surcharge or a fee for their total revenues?
No,
Or is it
it's not
just
a correct statement.
Okay, that's what I was.
The only fee that we're allowed to tap into relative to that 5% that's granted by the federal government has to do with the providing of TV cable services.
So it doesn't
So we
include the
do
phone?
not realize anything on that part of their revenues that would be attributed to offering phone service or for the internet services. So it's 5% of cable, including the higher tier digital services and the premium channels. We get 5% of all that. And it's pretty substantial. Michael would obviously have the numbers better than me, but I think we're up to, pretty substantial. It's $70,000, $80,000 a year that we realize now. That's 5% of that. That's, every time your cable bill goes up, the city gets a nickel of every dollar that it goes up. That is a true statement.
And we get lousy service every time it goes up, so. I'm really against Suddenlink right now and have been for about a year now. I went away from Suddenlink, I went to Dish Network. I went away from Dish Network because it was worse than Suddenlink. Now I'm back to Suddenlink again, and I understand that the company out of Weston, Chantel, does a really good job over there, and people are just pleased as punch with their cable system. I wish we could get that too. I've had several calls this week about the cable that went out, and I come to find out that one of the reasons, at least for one of the outages, was the fact that somebody was hunting copper and cut the cables, which there's no copper in fiber optics. So, if you're thinking about that out there, don't cut those fiber optic cables.
I think our regional representative, Peter Brown, does an excellent job, but so many of the decisions now are made out of St. Louis and bigger places. It's not quite the warm and fuzzy company that it was years ago. And I had a call probably last month, this is an aside to this, but they wanted me, I have the internet and the TV cable already, and they wanted me to bundle further. And I said, well, then I wouldn't be able to call when my cable and internet went out. So thank you, sir, and that was the end of that discussion.
Well,
anyway.
It's just knowing that these two cities, our sister city of Elkins and Buckhannon, have the worst cable service probably in the whole state of West Virginia.
After receiving a number of phone calls, I called about every human being I think that works in the company. I think I got a hold of all of them. But after talking, it seems like just as much of the problem is the infrastructure of what it is that exists here. And even if another company came in and assumed the equipment that already exists, they said that so much of the problem, we're one of 3 entities that Suddenlink owns that doesn't have their newer TiVo service. That all has to do with the fact that we don't have we Elkins, and I think Scott Depot, but there are 3 places that don't have it. And of course, some people told me that it was people drilling that had cut something. You know, you hear they wanted to say a million different things about what it was, but.
Actually, I kind of agree with Mr. O'Neill on this one. I'm kind of glad it was out. I hate having that TV on all the time. So.
Well, one of the other issues is that people are transferring to different modes of getting their information.
I don't mind the TV being out, but I hate to have my computer and my phone being out.
I see what you're saying.
Anyway, a couple other quick.
Jay might add a little to that as well.
Thanks, Rich, because I did raise my hand. I had a meeting with a representative from Suddenlink yesterday afternoon. They're going to be making improvements in the area, and I had to pull up some mapping where they're going to cross our water lines, our sewer lines, and our storm lines. Can't divulge that information yet because they haven't finalized their plans, but they are planning on taking it from overhead to underground in certain areas to avoid some of those disruptions and downtime.
Still don't like it.
A couple other shorty things, and then I've got one big thing. The cemetery letter with the Tuckers on the bell that was installed as part of your packet, we're awaiting the return of that, but I spoke with the family representative and they are in agreement with those terms that are in the mayor's letter. Just a couple of things that we don't want to lose sight of. With respect to not only the roughly 70 acres that was annexed several months ago that takes us all the way out to the Readiness Center, but also with regard to this 6 acres or so that will be coming in with IAA, probably after we complete that second annexation, those matters need to be referred to the Planning Commission so that they can make a recommendation on how things would be zoned. I mentioned probably a year ago that as we look long-term at annexing that property, it might be worth considering to establish a new zone, the military zone, or something like that that would better fit the usages associated with that property at the Armory. So again, that's nothing that the council needs to act on this week or this month, but sometime soon. I was doing a drive-by a couple of weeks ago on some college properties, and this wasn't on a college property, but it was very close to it. There was a refrigerator sitting out at the curb that had the doors on it. And there is a state statute. It's actually in Chapter 61, Article 2, Section 26, which is captioned, "Doors to be removed from abandoned refrigerators, freezers, and other appliances. Penalties. No person shall abandon any refrigerator or food freezer appliance or other airtight appliance having a height or length greater than 2 feet without first removing all entry doors therefrom. A person found guilty of that shall be fined not more than $200 and imprisoned not more than 6 months in the county jail, which now means the regional jail. The reason being is that children can easily climb inside those things. It's like every 5 years I give this reminder to council. Let's not be one of those places where you hear about the horrors of a kid climbing one of those things. Take the doors off your appliance if you're waiting for somebody to come by and take that thing away.
Did you take the doors off of it when you went by?
No, but I did make a call. So that the refrigerator was removed. Just a couple of two quick other announcements, if you'll let me make one public service announcement. The U-Care pool parties have been very successful this season. Of course, the city's a primary party with the Upshur Community Alcohol Reduction Effort. 3 of the 5 parties have been held. Matt Gregory asked me to remind everybody that next Tuesday from 6 to 10 is National Night Out. And remember, a couple of years ago, they moved that huge event. They had about 800-900 people there last year out to the pool beside the high school. So everybody, 6 to 10 next Tuesday, please come out. It's family night. There's no restrictions relative to middle school kids or high school kids. Everybody can come out to that. And the last high school pool party, been very well attended this year, will be on Saturday, August 17th from 7 to 11. And for the 6th straight year that we've done the high school pool parties, there will be a tablet, this year a tablet computer as the grand prize to wrap up the pool parties. I'd also just like to observe that Nancy Boyce died a week or so ago. And back in the 80s, maybe into the early 90s, WBUC radio used to cover the city council meetings, and they'd record things, and people would remark to me, they said, "Boy, you really sounded good at the city council meeting last night." I could never figure out how they knew what I was saying. And then it took a few years for me to catch on. They used to play back snippets of the council meetings over the radio on WBUC, and Nancy Boyce was the gal that was here at council meetings covering those, and she left us about a week or so ago, so part of that extended city family. The major thing that I have for you tonight is something that we've been talking about for several months, and this is not a first reading. This is just a conversational draft at this point. We certainly would want Mr. Clemens and Mitch Tacey and our city electrical inspector, John Martini, to weigh in. But in addition to those folks, I'd ask all the members of the council to give this a good look too. I think it's a very significant ordinance. Let me just do the caption, the whereases, and I'll highlight some of the things in the articles that follow. This would be ordinance number 377 of the city of Buckhannon, and ordinance 1 adopting the NFPA 1, also known as the National Fire Code 2009 edition, 2 adopting the NFPA 70, also known as the National Electrical Code 2008 edition, 3 adopting the NFPA 101, also known as the National Life Safety Code 2009 edition, 4, defining electrical standards and inspections, 5, establishing fees for electrical inspections, and 6, amending ordinance number 245 of the city of Buckhannon. The first 3 whereases simply again recite that the state of West Virginia has adopted these 3 major codes, that is to say the National Fire Code, the National Electrical Code, and the National Life Safety Code. The fourth whereas, the Council of the City of Buckhannon believes that the adoption of all of the foregoing, NFPA 170 and 101, by the city will best protect the residents of the City of Buckhannon from accidents, including fires resulting from improper electrical installation and repair. And whereas the accompanying inspections that are necessitated by the adoption of the foregoing NFPA codes are substantially more involved and labor-intensive to administer than previous inspections conducted by the city. And whereas the inspection fees, particularly respecting electrical inspections as were established pursuant to Article 2, Section 3 of Ordinance Number 245 in 1988, so we're talking about something that's 25 years old, are insufficient to adequately cover the city's expense to pay for the new inspections. And then we have a series of those sections from Chapter 8, Article 12, Section 5 that we so often refer to that allows us to adopt ordinances when it's in the interest of the public safety or welfare. And then now therefore be it ordained and enacted. Article 1, title of ordinance. This ordinance shall be known as the City of Buckhannon's Electrical Inspection and Fire Protection Ordinance. Article 2, findings of council. The state of West Virginia has adopted all of NFPA 170 and 101, which has been determined by the state fire marshal to promote the safest electrical installation and fire protection practices. 2, the council of the city of Buckhannon believes that the safety of its citizens is paramount to all other municipal or private concerns. And 3, the city's adoption of the NFPA 170 and 101 standards will vastly improve the safety of Buckhannon's residential and commercial properties. Then there's a series of definitions that I think are very important to the subsequent articles. Commercial property, what an electrical inspection really is. That's one I'd like to read to you because during the months that we've been slowly putting this thing together, I found out a lot of stuff I didn't have any clue about. An electrical inspection is an inspection which will help ensure that all electrical systems and wires in a building meet legal safety standards. There is a National Electric Code which many electrical inspectors will use when determining whether a certain electrical installation is acceptable. In some cases, an electrical inspection or even multiple inspections will be included with an electric permit, often required by local governments. Most electrical inspections are performed by the local government. For those who want to make sure they can pass an electrical inspection before the official inspector makes his rounds, a private inspector may be hired. This person will advise the project manager or the owner of any situations that require improvement before the official inspection is to take place. There are 3 main types of electrical inspections that happen during the installation of an electrical system. The first is known as the rough-in electrical inspection. During this time, all the wires, conduits, and boxes will be inspected. The second electrical inspection is the service inspection. While there are many things that must happen to pass this inspection, making sure the service panel is installed and grounded in a proper fashion are 2 of the most important factors. The third inspection is the final inspection. At this point, all breakers and final touches will be installed and the electrical system shall be fully functional. I don't want to characterize our past practice as less than stellar, but maybe that's putting it kindly. Our fee, which was established in 1988, typically generates a $15 thing. A permit is issued, people put it in their window, and not a whole heck of a lot happens in a lot of those instances. If we adopt these standards as a city, there will be all kinds of things that are going to occur. In most of these new structure situations, there's going to be a total of 4 interventions by the electrical inspector. There'll be a meeting and an approval of plans relative to the electrical components of a new structure. So if, such as in the past, when we've had the team of city officials meet with Walmart or Lowe's or CVS, I guess we'll be meeting with Taco Bell pretty soon. When they come in, one of those guys that would need to be present at that meeting in the perfect world would be the electrical inspector, so that he could tell them what his expectations are and start to establish a schedule to perform these various inspections. With that extra couple of levels of inspections and involvement from a certified electrical inspector, there's going to be a lot more time involved at a fairly high rate. This isn't just a jack of all trades that's going to be doing this. This is a certified electrical inspector, certified by the state of West Virginia. Those fees for our inspections are going to have to go up fairly substantially. I'll get to that in just a minute. Article 4 talks about the different classifications of property. A is commercial property. All property defined as commercial property, whether new construction or renovation, shall be deemed to be fully subject to all inspection provisions, and all electrical work shall be performed only by licensed electricians. Residential property. 1. All new residential structures shall be deemed to be fully subject to all inspection provisions hereof, and all electrical work shall be performed only by licensed electricians. 2. All renovations to existing residential structures, when performed by someone other than the owner thereof or an immediate family member thereof, shall be performed only by licensed electricians, and shall be deemed to be fully subject to all inspection provisions hereof. And then 3rd, which is really the exception to these inspections, all renovations to existing structures, when performed, these are residential structures now, when performed by the true owner thereof or an immediate family member thereof, may be performed by someone other than a licensed electrician. However, the city strongly encourages all owners of all residential property to have all electrical work undertaken by a licensed electrician. Permit fees, Article 5. There's 3 different possible fees. Under A, all inspection fees for property described pursuant to 4A hereof, that is commercial property, shall be determined by a multiplier of .001 of the cost of the construction or renovation as identified within the city building permit application. By way of example, in the event that a new commercial structure costs $1 million to construct, then the inspection fee shall be 001 times $1 million, or $1,000. Again, if we're talking about commercial stuff, typically restaurants and hotels and things like that, there's going to be way more outlets to look at, way more time by the electrical inspector. If the electrical inspector would typically, as a certified licensed electrician, charge $100 an hour, which is not out of line these days, you can guess that during the review of the plans, plus these 3 different inspections, it would not be out of line at all for that inspector to spend, say, 10 hours worth of his time on that project. So this is really not a fee gouge at all. It's just adequately assuring that the inspection will be done correctly. B, all inspection fees for property described pursuant to Article 4B1 hereof, that is new residential structures, shall be determined by the square footage of the new residential structure with a minimum fee of $150 for all new residential structures containing 2,000 or less square feet, and any new residential structure exceeding 2,000 square feet shall pay an additional $1 per square foot exceeding 2,000 square feet. That is, an owner of a new residential structure containing 3,000 square feet shall be required to pay a $250 fee. $150 for 2.
You need to check your math on that.
That's not correct.
Yeah, you need to check your math on that. I think you missed the decimal point.
We'll explain.
It'd be another $1,000.
Be another
Well, 10
Yeah,
cents,
that's not
or 10 cents per square foot.
Yeah, that's
or $1 per 10 square feet.
yeah, let's just go with 10 cents per square foot.
Yeah, but $1 per 10 square feet would make it easier to compute. If you could round it.
Mr. Martini would like that $1 per square foot, wouldn't he?
$2,000?
That'd be pretty good. I might go get my license to do some Anyway, C, I'll correct that.
Yeah.
All inspection fees for property described pursuant to Article 2B, 4B2 hereof, that is renovated residential structures undertaken by a licensed electrician shall be $100. And then what follows, incorporation, adoption of the state statutes, Article 7, violation, penalties, and jurisdiction of city's municipal court. The penalties are a little bit different from some of the other ordinances that we've adopted in the last several years concerning violations, criminal violations. This would require the person to pay up to $500 for failure to get their permits. And the reason why it's capped at $500, the state's law, the Constitution, doesn't allow municipal courts to assess fines more than $500. Plus, they shall immediately remit the full inspection fee, plus court costs. Article 8, exemptions, we talked about that before. Actually, no, this is different language. Any structure respecting which a building permit has been acquired prior to the effectuation date of this ordinance shall not be subject to the provisions of this ordinance, but rather shall be subject to those inspection ordinances existing prior to this ordinance's effectuation. So that'll still be $15 a pop until we get this in place. Article 9 is severability. Article 10 amends Ordinance 245. Article 11 is a tentative effective date. If we fast track this and are able to have a first reading on August 15, the council could adopt it on September 5, and it could be effectuated as early as October 5. And since October is National Fire Prevention Month, then Stacy would probably love that. It'd be we could celebrate that, balloons for the kids and the whole bit. So,
Will this result in a lower rate for homeowners insurance for residents of the city? No. Mitch is shaking his head no.
Unless he can lower our ISO rating, wave his magic fire wand.
Okay, but this isn't going to...
Not going
to affect that.
And if I, as a homeowner, did some work myself and wanted an electrical inspection done, that isn't considered in here, but would that come under C, about $100 for?
Yes, that's what's intended by that.
Okay.
Yeah, we may need to, if you've got some
It
language.
says licensed physician, but I'm not licensed.
David.
Electrician, not physician. I may need a physician.
You're licensed to operate, right?
Mr. Martini may wince when if it's like, well, go out, Joe Schmo did his own work, that's probably, those kinds of things might require a lot more time for him, so.
I don't anticipate he'll get that many of them, though.
Does a renovation of either commercial or residential trigger an inspection of just the renovated portion or the whole piece of property?
If it's a renovation, I would defer to Mr. Martini, unless they're making changes at the box. I could see how there probably would be occasion when more than just the new addition would have to be looked at.
I would say most, a lot of the houses and commercial properties in this town, if you do any kind of renovation to it, and it was built X amount of years ago, and a certified electrician is going to tell you probably need to upgrade the service to your home or the commercial property, or even consider rewiring. The standards are so much different now than they were 40, 50, 60 years ago. And so I think that, one of the things that this ordinance could really trigger is any kind of renovation you have. You got an electrical inspector in there, they're going to say you need to upgrade your whole system. And that's one of the unintended consequences of something like this, I think.
I will tell you now that when you have a house that's for sale, if you go to get a mortgage on it, you will not be able to obtain that without removing all the knob and tube wiring, which many of the homes still have in this area.
Knob and tube has.
It has to go, and typically they'll make you move from what was probably a 60 amp service to at least probably a 200 amp service.
And rubber Romex is next.
Right.
And there's a lot of 100 amp services in this town.
Right. Dave, on your one on top of page 3, where you talk about a service inspection, I think Martini, we used to do service inspections, but those have been removed. I believe there's some language in state code that requires a different type of inspection, and he So that's not part of the city's inspection now. Those must be done by
Well,
separate state certified inspectors.
I think that the meter service itself, the meter socket, is outside the purview of the city inspector. I think that the panel itself is.
Well, we go to the main disconnect. The main disconnect is the break point. Anything between the main disconnect and the pole is not part of the
Power
city.
company.
Power company, and anything from the main disconnect into the inside of the house is subject to our inspection.
After John Martini weighs in, there may be some additional tweaking of this
Right.
language. He's
Right.
not seen this yet. And, I just took this off the NFPA site and stuck some of their definitions in. I stole a lot of their good language, and they actually, on their site, encourage municipalities to do exactly that when they do ordinances like this.
I do believe that, talking with John, there's an inspection guide that's not referenced here, which may be included, but
There's a whole link to click
I
on.
think it's a good starting point.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good start, I think.
One other concern I had was you reference particular additions to the National Electric Code. Do we have language in here? Those are periodically updated and frequently there are significant changes.
This is what has currently been adopted by the state of West Virginia.
But that's likely to change
It-
next July.
every
We're
3
due
years, you know.
we're due to go to 2009 to 12 or
I think
whatever
it's
the next
about
one
every
is.
3 years
Yeah.
that those NFPAs go up.
So we need to either think about that or build
Let's put
something.
language in there or future editions stop.
Such subsequent adopted versions, additions by the state of West Virginia.
Right.
That's a good thought.
Do you define renovation in the ordinance?
Not specifically. It's implicitly from new structure, which is in here, it would be something that's not new structure. But we could add a definition for renovation.
Because that could be an area of contention, I think. Or something.
There's a couple of things in the state building code which exempts things from fire protection code matters, such as a garage or an outbuilding that's less than, I want to say 250 square feet or something like that, as long as it doesn't have electricity in it. As soon as you take electricity even to a shed or an outbuilding, that technically comes under the auspices of being subject to inspection.
Well, I think a lot of people, when we had the Diageo storm last year, there were a lot of electrical issues that a lot of homes had, and they found out that in a lot of cases, they needed to upgrade their service.
An addition onto a current building, is that renovation?
That would be considered a renovation. If it's an existing structure and you're doing something to it, we can, again, this is a conversational draft, we can certainly add a definition for renovation, room add-ons, finishing a basement, finishing an attic, those kinds of things.
In the way of conversation, I think this is a great idea. I think it's going to protect a lot of people out there. It could save a lot of lives. Also, I think we should consider going a bit further and going into a complete building code for the city. And I think that this is one item perhaps for the discussion with the county commissioners, that we should have a county-wide building code and building inspector and electrical inspector. I don't see why you pay $15 for an application and it does nothing. Speaking for one of my friends that had a new home installed, wasn't happy, got an inspector, got an inch worth of inspection violations and had to go to the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division in order to get that enforced and corrected, and which it has been. And we had building inspectors and given them, had to have an inspection before the right to occupy, we wouldn't have that problem. And the only people that really are going to gripe about it, I believe, are going to be the contractors. A lot of them won't be able to cut their corners anymore and give you shoddy work, especially in these pre-built homes and everything. But it could also save a lot of hassle for families down the road. And we may take some heat, but we got to buck up and take some of this stuff for the good of the citizens out there, whether we want to or not. And I think building codes are one of the things that we need to look at.
Mr. Clemens has been advancing that for years, and the thinking was, and I've heard Michael weigh in on it too, is that as we take up electric first and generate some awareness as to, we're moving into the 21st century here, you're probably going to have at least a half-time inspector before very long. And this city will probably support a full-time inspector in a decade. I mean, it's just, you're heading that
I think
direction.
a full-time inspector could be had right now with the joint city-county.
Good discussion.
So that's something we need to discuss with the county commissioners.
That's a good thing to put on the agenda,
Yeah.
for sure.
How about metro government? I think that's a bad thing to say.
Wash your mouth out.
I couldn't resist.
If you're gonna
You know
talk-
there's one
You're gonna
person
talk to
gonna
them,
go
you gotta
along with
wash your
you,
mouth out. I'll listen to you, but
That's
all
gonna
I
happen
have.
someday.
Unless you all have further questions for me, but
Thank you, David.
you're welcome.
thank you, Dave. Brings us to the consent agenda, which is the minutes of the regular meeting, July 18th. Building and wiring permits, payment of bills, approval request, close Hart Street on August 24 by Chapel Hill United Methodist Church. Approval of design and use of CVB chamber visitor parking tags. Motion to approve the
Do
consent
we need to
agenda.
talk about the tags first?
Do you want to move that down further?
Yeah, let's move that down and just talk. discuss
Okay,
them a little
then,
bit.
consent agenda items E1, 2, 3, and 4. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Item removed from consent agenda E5, approval of design use of the visitor parking tag. What do you want to know?
Well, I'm wondering about where it says $25 fine for misuse, and the opportunities to correct items that are listed on the backside with new businesses, or the deletion of old businesses. How is that going to be taken care of, and at what intervals?
We have an updated list for the business listings because I know that some have recently changed. So we have it updated. That's just not the most recent copy. And we're not printing a lot of these. We're going to kind of start small and see where it goes. So that will hopefully be able to update those listings.
Local printer?
Yeah,
Discount?
I don't know. Ralston Press will be.
We'll talk to him.
And it's a $25 fine. Is that a by statute or
Tim?
something here?
There's a
I mean-
standard fine on there for parking.
Overtime on Main Street, 2 hours on that.
There's a standard fine on there for parking in illegal or unauthorized locations, so.
Okay, so in other words, if this was used on the day after issue,
It's a violation.
there'd be a $25 fine. Okay, I understand that.
And they're gonna, I understand, write a serial number on them and, correct me if I'm wrong, write a serial number on them, date them, and also log the person that was
Okay.
given the permit.
I move
So those people will try to copy them or.
Not going to have frequent flyers, right?
I move we accept the parking permits for the convention.
Parking tag?
Parking tag.
I second that.
Approve the visitor parking tag for the chamber and the CVB. Motion made and seconded. Any further questions, discussion? All in favor signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those no, the ayes have it. 2013, 2014 fiscal appointments. We had some issues previously. I'm ready to recommend for your approval Dave McCauley as city attorney and John Hinkle to the waste board. Those issues have been resolved in my view. Entertain a motion to approve those appointments.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
I want to make a statement during an executive session. I don't have to do it now, if you
Okay.
want to call the vote now, but I have some comments I want to make too, not to the, in the regular session, in the executive session.
Okay.
I ask for a roll call vote.
Vote's been called. He asked for a roll call. Rich?
Ron?
No.
Tom?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Pam?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Dave?
No. 4-2. The ayes have it, so ordered. Brings us to comment and announcements. Ron, you have further comment?
Well, I had down here to mention the TV cable, that's been going out. Cell phone service, I've been approached, and I'll approach again today about, by Intellis about wanting to bid on our local cell phone service for our employees that we have. I don't know who it's with.
It varies.
Well, I understand that some of the problems are some of the certain departments didn't have service in parts of the where they needed it. They want to present to us a program that they think will be conducive for us, where it will reach everybody. So I said I'd bring it up, and if we could do that, we'd like to.
Well, I think it'd be appropriate for them to contact Michael, and we'll consider it.
I also want to bring up the fact that I think we should consider a grant writer for the city of Buckhannon. I brought that up a couple of times. I think a grant writer would pay for their salary many times what it's going to be, especially with the writing grants for the police department, which would alleviate a lot of work that Matt has to do. Grants for the playground equipment we're talking about, grants for a boat ramp for handicapped that I've been discussing with a couple of handicapped people in the city, and other various grants, whether it be for streets or whatever, that could free up some of our department heads. I think we should discuss this sometime about hiring a grant writer, whether it be on a salary or a portion of what the grant's worth figured into their salary, figured into the grant, or however it would be. I think we really need a grant writer for the city of Buckhannon. And as far as anything else goes, everybody have a great weekend. And I know you won't hear this on the TV until next Thursday, but have a good yard sale.
It'll be on tomorrow.
Comment on the grant writer. We have kicked that around different times, and maybe it's time to talk about it again. It's not proven to be a good thing to do in the past, but maybe it's a good time to start thinking about it again. So appreciate you bringing that up. Tom?
I just want to again express my appreciation to the streets guys for the work they're doing on Fayette and Pocahontas, and especially with the new storm drain line that that parallels Ritchie down the river. My lot in particular on Fayette Street is the lowest point in the block, and I used to have significant problems with flooding in heavy rains, and since the new line was put in, that problem has been alleviated, and I'm certain that a lot of other residents in that part of town have benefited from less water in their basement and things like that. So I'm grateful to you guys for the work that you're doing on that, and appreciate it a lot. Yes. That's
okay. Thanks.
Sorry.
Rich?
Just remind folks that the usual pool needs a 6-foot fence around it. Get your building permits early. Sometimes it takes a little longer than depending on what information there is, or if you're in the flood zone. Just come in and get them started. That's all I have.
Okay. John?
Just to thank Laura again for her work and for her presentation today. I think you said you haven't been running into a lot of trouble, and I think part of that is because you are running an open and inclusive process where people are allowed to do things. As a representative of the community theater, anyway, I can tell you that some of that stuff was very impactful, and we had people we talked to that came to things and said they saw that stuff on Facebook, and that was the first time they ran into it, so very cool. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Ma'am?
I just want to agree with Ron about the grant writing. I have brought that up several times in the past. One thing would be some things that is needed for Stop Reduce Center on top of all the other things. Also, the Gateway East project is being started. I don't know if there's plans to clean out the storm drains as you come up through there or not, but I experienced having to have my vehicle moved very fast last week because the water was almost in my car in front of 120 and a half East Main Street last week, and I thought, oh my God, these need cleaned out really bad.
That issue is not just cleaning out, I think there needs to be some upgrade to some lines in that area. Matter of fact, I think that one actually runs right up in the basement, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I think there needs to be some upgraded facilities in that area.
But will there be plans of that being cleaned out in?
It's not in our project that Gateway East done.
By a boat.
Dave?
We are going into executive session.
Yes.
You know, if you go back and reflect, I want to thank David for his work on the electrical inspection ordinance. And, you know, when you talk about the grant writer, that may be something that should be shared with the county also. But one thing I think that we as council members, elected officials, that if you take a look at the last 4 or 5 months, there's a lot of residents that think we are city council members are becoming intrusive in their lifestyle choices, whether it's smoking or non-smoking or the junkyard ordinance. But I think that, you know, we're all motivated by trying to make the community a better community. And there will be cost consequences to both contractors and people that are doing additions or renovations, what have you. But our primary motivation is the safety of our residents and the shoppers and the commercial buildings, and also having a nice, small community that's really attractive to visitors and the people who live here. So I think that, you know, we're going to get a lot of heat with some things we're doing because it looks like we're, you know, dictating in some ways what people's choices are. But I think we're motivated by good things, and I just want to remind people of that. That's all.
Thank you. Usually by the time it's my turn to make comments, everybody said everything that's worth saying, so I'll just move on. I would entertain a motion that we enter into an executive session for personnel litigation per Western Code 698-4.
So moved.
Second.
And second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The rest of you know that means you can go, and we will not be coming